Commander Jake Sullivan felt his heart beat faster as he looked out the main window of the New Horizon. The alien ship was huge. It was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. The metal surface looked smooth and perfect, like it was made from one single piece. Strange blue lights moved across its hull in patterns that hurt his eyes to watch. "They are ready to meet us, Commander," said Dr. Lisa Carter from behind him. She was the best scientist they had for understanding alien life. Her hands shook a little as she held her tablet computer. "The translation system is working. We can talk to them now." Jake turned around to look at his crew. Captain Ryan Brooks stood near the weapons controls, but his face showed worry instead of confidence. The Zephyrians had told them to bring no weapons to this meeting. They said human weapons were too weak to matter anyway. "Remember what we practiced," Jake said to his team. "We are here to make friends. We need to show them that humans can be good partners in space." The meeting room was in the middle of the station. It was a big round space with white walls and bright lights. When Jake and his crew walked in, they saw the aliens for the first time up close. The Zephyrians were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin looked like glass with light moving under it. They had no hair and their eyes were big and dark. When they moved, they made no sound at all. 3 aliens sat at a curved table that seemed to grow out of the floor. The one in the middle was bigger than the others. He wore something that looked like robes made of liquid metal. When he spoke, his voice came from a small box on the table instead of his mouth. "I am Elder Zixtal," the voice said. It sounded like music, but cold music with no feeling. "We have come to offer your species a great gift. You will join our galactic community." Dr. Carter stepped forward and bowed her head like they had practiced. "We are happy to meet you, Elder Zixtal. I am Dr. Lisa Carter. This is Commander Jake Sullivan. We speak for all humans." The alien looked at her for a long time. Jake felt like those dark eyes could see right through him. When Elder Zixtal spoke again, his words made Jake's stomach feel sick. "Your species is very young. You have only just learned to travel between stars. We have been doing this for thousands of your years. You cannot survive in space without help." Another alien spoke up. This one was thinner and had silver marks on its face. "We have studied your planet. We have watched your wars. Humans fight each other over small things. You make choices with your feelings instead of your minds. This is why you need protection." Captain Brooks moved forward, but Jake held up his hand to stop him. "What kind of protection?" Jake asked. Elder Zixtal made a sound that the translation box turned into words. "You will mine metals and grow food for the advanced species. We will give you the tools and knowledge you need. In return, we will keep you safe from the dangers of space." "What dangers?" Dr. Carter asked. "Other species that would use humans as slaves or kill you for sport. Space pirates. Diseases that can kill entire worlds. Wars between star systems. You are not ready for any of these things." Jake felt anger growing in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "And if we do this mining and farming for you, what do we get?" "You get to live," the third alien said. This one had not spoken before. Its voice was higher and seemed to laugh at them. "You get to survive. Most new species are dead within 100 years of joining the galaxy. We are offering you a chance to last much longer." Dr. Carter looked at her tablet and then at Jake. They had talked about this possibility. Some of the smart people back on Earth had guessed that aliens might try to make humans into workers instead of partners. "Can we think about this offer?" Jake asked. Elder Zixtal made that strange sound again. "There is nothing to think about. No species has ever said no to our protection. It would be foolish. You do not understand how big and dangerous the galaxy is." The silver-marked alien leaned forward. "We have tested your people. Your best minds cannot solve problems that our children learn in school. Your fastest ships are slower than our cargo vessels. Your weapons could not hurt a single one of our workers." Jake felt his face get hot. He knew the aliens were stronger than humans, but the way they talked made him angry. It was like they thought humans were nothing more than pets or farm animals. "We appreciate your offer," Jake said slowly, "but humans like to make their own choices. We have always been that way." "That is exactly the problem," Elder Zixtal said. You make choices with your hearts instead of your heads. This leads to mistakes. Big mistakes that can kill everyone. Doctor. Carter stepped closer to the table. May I ask you something, Elder Zixtal? The alien nodded once. Have you ever been wrong about anything? The room went very quiet. The three aliens looked at each other in a way that seemed like they were talking without words. Finally, Elder Zixtal spoke. We have lived for thousands of years. We have built an empire that covers half the galaxy. We do not make mistakes, because we do not let feelings cloud our thinking. Jake quietly turned on the small recording device in his pocket. He had a feeling that this conversation was going to be very important later. Something about the way the aliens talked bothered him. They seemed so sure that they were right about everything. What if we could prove that humans are smarter than you think? Dr. Carter asked suddenly. All three aliens made that strange sound at the same time. The translation box could not handle three voices at once, so it just made noise like static. Elder? Zixtal raised one long arm and the other aliens went quiet. What are you suggesting, human? Dr. Carter looked straight at Elder Zixtal. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice stayed steady. I am suggesting that we prove humans can think just as well as your people, maybe even better in some ways. The three aliens made that strange sound again. This time Jake could tell they were laughing at her. Elder Zixtal's dark eyes seemed to get bigger as he stared at the small human woman. You want to challenge us? The alien asked. You think your primitive minds can compete with ours? Yes, Dr. Carter said without backing down. If we can prove that humans are smart enough to be your equals, then you treat us as partners, not servants. Captain Brooks moved up next to Dr. Carter. And if we lose? Then you accept our protection and do as we say, Elder Zixtal replied. You become what you were always meant to be, workers for the greater good of the galaxy. Jake stepped forward. He could see that Dr. Carter had a plan, but he was not sure what it was. What kind of challenges are you talking about? The silver-marked alien spoke up. 3 tests, 1 for your minds, 1 for your technology, 1 for your ability to think like warriors. If you pass all 3, we will consider you equals. And if we pass only 1 or 2? Jake asked. Then you have proven nothing, the third alien said. All advanced species must be good at thinking, building, and fighting. Weakness in any area means you are not ready for the galaxy. Dr. Carter looked at Jake and nodded once. She had made up her mind. We accept your challenge. Elder Zixtal stood up. He was so tall that his head almost touched the ceiling. Very well, but know this, humans. In 3,000 years, no species has ever passed all 3 tests. Many have tried. All have failed. What happened to the ones who failed? Captain, Brooks asked. They accepted our protection just as you will, Elder Zixtal said, or they chose to return to their home worlds and stay there forever. Either way, they learned their place in the universe. The alien leader walked around the table until he was standing very close to the humans. Jake could smell something like cold metal and electricity coming from him. The first test is for your minds, Elder Zixtal said. We will give you an ancient math problem. It has been unsolved for 2,000 years. The greatest thinkers in the galaxy have worked on it. None have found the answer. What kind of math problem? Dr. Carter asked. Numbers that predict how dark matter moves across space. If you can solve it, you will understand something about the universe that even we do not fully know. Jake felt worried. Dr. Carter was smart, but this sounded impossible. 2,000 years of alien geniuses had failed. How could one human woman succeed? The second alien stepped forward. The second test is for your technology. You must solve a problem that our best engineers cannot fix. What problem? Jake asked. How to make energy from empty space. Space looks empty, but it is full of tiny pieces of energy that appear and disappear very fast. If someone could catch this energy and use it, they could power entire worlds. We have tried for centuries. It cannot be done. Jake looked at Captain Brooks. They both knew about Tony Martinez back on the ship. He was the best engineer humans had, but this sounded like magic, not science. The third test is for war, the third alien said. Its voice sounded excited, like it enjoyed fighting. You will face our battle computers in a simulation. You must defend a human colony against our attack. No species has ever won this game. What makes it so hard? Captain Brooks asked. He had been a soldier before becoming a ship captain. Our computers can think 1,000,000 times faster than biological brains. They can see every possible move you might make before you make it. They know exactly how to defeat any strategy. Elder Zixtal returned to his seat. You have 3 days to prepare. Then the tests begin. Do you still wish to continue with this foolishness? Dr. Carter looked at Jake and Captain Brooks. She could see doubt in their eyes, but she also saw something else. Hope. We accept, she said. The aliens stood up together. Very well. We will prepare the testing areas. Do not disappoint us, humans. Failure will only prove what we already know. After the aliens left, Jake and his crew sat alone in the meeting room. The silence felt heavy and scary. Lisa, what were you thinking? Captain Brooks asked. These tests sound impossible. Dr. Carter smiled for the first time since they had arrived at the station. That is exactly why we might win. What do you mean? Jake asked. Think about it. They have been trying to solve these problems for hundreds or thousands of years. They keep failing because they always think the same way. They use only logic and math and rules. And humans think differently? Jake asked. Yes. We use feelings and creativity and crazy ideas that do not always make sense. Sometimes the best solutions come from thinking in ways that seem wrong at first. Captain Brooks shook his head. But what if you are wrong? What if we really are too primitive to compete with them? Then we go home and live our lives on Earth, Dr. Carter said. But at least we tried. At least we did not just give up and become their workers. Jake stood up and walked to the window. He could see both ships floating in space. The human ship looked tiny next to the alien one, like a mouse next to an elephant. But he remembered stories from Earth history. Sometimes the mouse found ways to beat the elephant. All right, he said. Let us get our people ready. Tony for the technology test, Lisa for the math problem, Ryan for the war game. And if we lose? Captain Brooks asked again. Then we lose trying to stay free, Jake replied. That is better than winning by becoming slaves. Dr. Carter picked up her tablet and headed for the door. I need to call the ship and get Tony down here. And I want to see this math problem they think is so impossible. As she walked away, Jake heard her say something under her breath that made him smile. 2,000 years of alien geniuses, huh? Let us see what one human woman can do. Tony Martinez stood in front of a machine that looked like it belonged in a dream. The alien technology was smooth and curved, with no sharp edges anywhere. Lights moved through clear tubes like liquid fire. When he touched the control panel, it felt warm like living skin. This is the energy collection device, Elder Zixtal explained. His voice came from speakers built into the walls. For 800 years, our best scientists have tried to make it work. The theory is simple. Empty space contains energy that appears and disappears in tiny amounts. Catch enough of it, and you can power a city. Tony walked around the machine, slowly. He had studied the plans for 2 days, but seeing it in person was different. The alien design was perfect in every way he could measure. Every part was exactly the right size and shape. Every connection was flawless. Why does it not work? Tony asked. The energy is too small and too fast, the second alien replied. By the time our sensors detect it, it has already vanished. By the time our collectors move to catch it, there is nothing there. Tony nodded and opened his tool bag. The aliens had laughed when he asked to bring tools from Earth. They said human technology was too primitive to help with their advanced problems. But Tony had brought them anyway. He pulled out a small pot that contained dirt from his garden, back home. The aliens made that strange laughing sound. What is that supposed to do? The silver-marked alien asked. In this dirt are billions of tiny living things called bacteria, Tony explained as he worked. They are so small you cannot see them without a special machine, but they are very good at catching and using energy. Tony began connecting small tubes from his bag to the alien machine. The tubes were made of a special plastic that humans had invented for growing plants in space. They were designed to let tiny living things move through them while keeping everything else out. You want to put dirt into our precision equipment? Elder Zixtal sounded shocked. Not dirt. Life, Tony said. He mixed the soil with water and some chemicals he had brought from Earth. These bacteria have been catching and using tiny bits of energy for millions of years. They do not think about it. They do not measure it. They just eat it. The aliens watched in silence as Tony poured his mixture into the tubes. Within minutes, the liquid began to glow with a soft green light. The alien sensors started beeping and showing numbers they had never seen before. Impossible, the second alien whispered. Tony smiled and made one more connection. The energy collection machine hummed to life. The lights in the room got brighter. The alien computer started showing power levels that went higher and higher. How? Elder Zixtal demanded. You tried to catch the energy with machines, Tony explained. Machines have to think and measure and decide, but bacteria just live. They grab onto anything that can keep them alive. They are not fast enough to catch individual pieces of energy, but they do not need to be. They catch millions of pieces at the same time. Meanwhile, in another room, Dr. Carter stared at a wall covered with numbers and symbols. The ancient math problem looked like the most complicated thing she had ever seen. Lines of calculation stretched from floor to ceiling. Some parts were written in languages that had been dead for thousands of years. This is the work of 2,000 years, Elder Zixtal had told her. The greatest minds in the galaxy have added to it. Each generation builds on the work of the last, yet the answer remains hidden. Dr. Carter walked back and forth in front of the wall. She had been studying the problem for hours, but something felt wrong about it. The math was perfect. Every calculation was correct. But it felt cold and empty, like a song with no music. She sat down and closed her eyes. Back on Earth, she had studied more than just science. She loved music and poetry and art. Her professors had always told her that those things would not help with real science, but she kept studying them anyway. When she opened her eyes, she looked at the problem differently. Instead of seeing just numbers, she started to see patterns. The way the equations curved and flowed reminded her of something familiar. She pulled out a small notebook and started writing. Not math equations, but words, poetry. The rhythm of the numbers reminded her of old songs her grandmother used to sing. Songs about the ocean and the wind and the way leaves moved in trees. "What are you doing?" the silver-marked alien asked. He had been watching her work. "The people who made this problem were not just mathematicians," Dr. Carter said without looking up from her notebook. "They were artists too. They hid the answer in the music of the math." She began to hum a simple tune while she wrote. The alien looked confused, but Dr. Carter kept working. She wrote the math problem as if it were a poem, with rhythm and feeling. And flow. Hours passed. The alien grew tired and left, but Dr. Carter kept working. She sang the equations like lullabies. She danced the patterns like folk dances from her childhood. She painted the numbers with words that had color and emotion. Finally, just as the sun on the distant planet below began to rise, she found it. Hidden in the heart of the most complex calculation was a simple pattern. A pattern that only made sense if you felt it instead of just thinking about it. The answer was not a number. It was a song that described how dark matter moved through space like music moves through air. The ancient people who created the problem had been trying to teach something beautiful, not just solve something difficult. Dr. Carter wrote the final equation on the wall. It was simple and elegant and perfect. As soon as she finished writing, the alien computers began to sing. Not with sound, but with light. The entire room filled with colors that showed the hidden music of the universe. Elder Zixtal appeared in the doorway just as the lights began to dance. He stared at the wall for a long time without speaking. "How?" he finally asked. "You tried to solve it with your minds," Dr. Carter said softly. "But the people who made it were trying to speak to your hearts. Math is not just about numbers. Sometimes it is about beauty." The alien leader looked at the singing lights and said nothing. For the first time since the humans had met him, Elder Zixtal seemed small and uncertain. In a third room, Captain Brooks prepared for the final test. The war simulation was about to begin, and he knew that everything depended on what happened in the next few hours. Captain Brooks stood in front of a huge screen that showed a map of space. Tiny dots of light marked the positions of ships and planets. Red dots were enemies. Blue dots were the human colony he had to protect. There were many more red dots than blue ones. This is the Terran colony simulation, the third alien explained. Its voice sounded excited, like it enjoyed watching others fail. You have 12 ships to defend against our fleet of 60. The colony has 10,000 humans who cannot be moved. You must keep them alive. Elder Zixtal watched from the back of the room. Our battle computer has won this simulation 847 times. No biological mind has ever defeated it. The computer can think through millions of battle plans in seconds. Brooks looked at the screen and felt his heart sink. The enemy ships were bigger and faster than his. They had better weapons and stronger shields. In any normal fight, the human ships would be destroyed in minutes. How long do I have to plan? Brooks asked. The simulation begins now, the alien said with what sounded like a smile in its voice. The red dots on the screen began to move toward the colony. Brooks watched them come and felt sweat on his forehead. The alien computer was doing exactly what he expected. It was splitting its forces into 3 groups to attack from different directions. The plan was perfect and would definitely work. That was when Brooks realized something important. The computer was too perfect. It always made the best possible choice. It never did anything stupid or risky or unexpected. But sometimes in war, stupid plans worked better than smart ones. Brooks grabbed the control panel and started giving orders to his ships. But instead of moving them to defend the colony, he did something that made everyone in the room gasp. He ordered all his ships to retreat. What are you doing? Elder Zixtal demanded. You are supposed to protect the colony. I am protecting it, Brooks replied calmly. He watched as his 12 ships moved away from the planet, leaving the 10,000 colonists completely defenseless. The alien battle computer paused. For the first time in 847 battles, something unexpected had happened. The computer spent precious seconds trying to understand why the human would abandon the people he was supposed to save. While the computer was confused, Brooks put the second part of his plan into action. He ordered the colonists to do something that no military manual would ever recommend. He told them to surrender. This is insane, the silver-marked alien said. You have given up without even fighting. Brooks smiled as he watched the screen. Have I? The enemy ships surrounded the defenseless planet. The computer was programmed to accept surrenders and take prisoners instead of killing helplessly people. It was more efficient that way. The red ships landed on the planet and began rounding up the colonists. But Brooks had studied human history. He remembered stories about occupied countries during old wars on Earth. Sometimes the best way to fight an enemy was to let them think they had already won. As soon as the enemy ships landed, the colonists put Brooks' real plan into action. They were not really surrendering. They were pretending to surrender while secretly preparing to fight back. The colonists had hidden weapons and supplies all over their cities. When the enemy soldiers came to collect them, small groups of humans attacked from hiding places. They used hit-and-run tactics that Brooks had learned from studying guerrilla wars on Earth. The alien computer had not expected this. It was programmed to fight space battles with ships and lasers. It did not know how to handle thousands of small fights happening at the same time on the ground. While the computer was trying to figure out how to stop the colonist attacks, Brooks brought his ships back. But he did not attack the main enemy fleet like the computer expected. Instead, he sent his ships after the enemy supply vessels that were hiding far behind the battle lines. The computer had placed its supply ships in the safest possible location, according to all military logic. But Brooks was not using military logic. He was using tactics he had learned from watching football games and playing poker with his friends. In football, sometimes the best play was to ignore the strong players and go after the weak ones. In poker, sometimes you won by making the other player think you had given up when you were actually setting a trap. Brooks's ships destroyed the enemy supply vessels before the computer could send help. Without supplies, the big enemy fleet began to run low on fuel and ammunition. The computer tried to recall its ships from the planet, but the colonist attacks were getting stronger and more organized. Dr. Carter had taught some of the colonists how to use the alien communication systems. They were jamming the enemy signals and sending false orders that confused the computer even more. The alien battle computer was designed to fight logical opponents, but the humans were being completely illogical, and it was working. The simulation continued for 6 hours. The alien computer made perfect tactical decisions over and over again, but the humans kept doing things that made no sense. They retreated when they should have attacked. They attacked when they should have retreated. They split up when they should have stayed together. They worked together when they should have split up. Every time the computer thought it understood what the humans were doing, they changed their plan. Brooks used strategies he had learned from children's games, from sports, from business, and even from cooking. He combined ideas that had never been combined before. Finally, the computer made a mistake. It got so frustrated trying to predict the humans that it started making desperate moves. It sent all its remaining ships to attack the colony at once, hoping to end the fight quickly. That was exactly what Brooks had been waiting for. His 12 ships had been hiding behind a moon, and when the enemy fleet grouped together, he attacked, them all at the same time. The battle was fierce but short. Without their supply ships, the enemy could not repair damage or replace lost weapons. When the simulation ended, the screen showed blue dots where the red dots used to be. The human colony was safe. The enemy fleet was defeated. The room was completely silent. Elder Zixtal stared at the screen like he could not believe what he was seeing. "How?" the third alien whispered. "The computer is perfect. It cannot lose." Brooks turned around and looked at all 3 aliens. That was the problem, it was too perfect. Real war is not perfect. Real war is messy and crazy and full of mistakes. Your computer never learned how to make good mistakes. Elder Zixtal stood very still for a long time. His dark eyes moved from the simulation screen to Captain Brooks, then to Dr. Carter, then to Tony Martinez. The other 2 aliens were making soft sounds that the translation device could not turn into words. "This is not possible," the silver-marked alien finally said. "No species has ever passed all 3 tests. The math problem alone has defeated civilizations that were far more advanced than yours." Dr. Carter stepped forward. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe being too advanced made it harder to find the answer. Elder Zixtal walked to the window and looked out at the human ship floating in space. It still looked tiny next to the Zephyrian vessel, but somehow it did not seem as small as it had before. "We must report this to the High Council," he said quietly. "They will not believe it." "What happens now?" Jake Sullivan asked. He had been watching everything from the back of the room, recording it all on his small device. The third alien, the one who had been so excited about the war simulation, spoke up. "According to our laws, you have proven that humans are worthy of equal status in the galactic community. We cannot make you into workers or servants. But this changes everything," the silver-marked alien said. Its voice sounded worried. "If humans can solve problems that we cannot solve, what does that mean for us?" Elder Zixtal turned around slowly. "It means we have been wrong about intelligence for a very long time." He walked back to the table and sat down. For the first time since the humans had met him, he looked tired and old. "For 3,000 years we have believed that logic and reason were the highest forms of thinking," he continued. "We built our entire civilization on this idea. We taught other species that emotion and creativity were weaknesses that had to be overcome." Dr. Carter sat down across from him. "They are not weaknesses. They are just different kinds of strength." "How do you mean?" Elder Zixtal asked. "Your people are very good at solving problems that have clear rules and logical steps," Dr. Carter explained. "But some problems do not follow rules. Some problems need creativity and intuition, and even a little bit of madness." Tony Martinez pulled out his container of soil and set it on the table. "Your energy machine failed because you tried to control something that cannot be controlled. The tiny pieces of energy in space are too random and too chaotic for machines to catch. But life is also random and chaotic. That is why bacteria could solve your problem when your computers could not. Captain Brooks joined them at the table. Your battle computer lost because it always made the best possible choice. But in war, the best choice is not always the right choice. Sometimes you have to make bad choices that confuse your enemy. Elder Zixtal looked at each human in turn. You are saying that our way of thinking is incomplete. Not incomplete, Jake said. Just not the only way. You are very good at thinking with your minds. We are pretty good at thinking with our hearts too. Maybe both ways together work better than either way alone. The alien leader was quiet for several minutes. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, more uncertain than before. If this is true, then we have made a terrible mistake. We have forced thousands of species to give up their own ways of thinking. We made them copy our methods instead of learning from their methods. It is not too late to change, Dr. Carter said gently. Elder Zixtal stood up and walked to a communication panel on the wall. He spoke in his own language for several minutes. Jake could not understand the words, but the tone sounded like someone giving important news. When he finished, he returned to the table. I have called for an emergency meeting of the High Council. I have told them that we need to reconsider our entire approach to galactic civilization. What will happen to us? Jake asked. You will be welcomed as equal partners, Elder Zixtal replied. But more than that, we would like to learn from you. We would like you to teach us how to combine logic with creativity, reason with emotion, planning with intuition. The silver-marked alien spoke up. Many of our people will not accept this easily. We have always believed that we were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Maybe being advanced is not about being the smartest, Tony said. Maybe it is about being willing to learn new things. Elder Zixtal made a sound that was different from his usual laugh. This one sounded warmer, more genuine. You may be right, Tony Martinez. We have spent so much time teaching other species that we forgot how to be students ourselves. Dr. Carter pulled out her notebook and showed Elder Zixtal the poem she had written while solving the math problem. Would you like to see how we solved your ancient puzzle? The alien looked at the words on the page. They were mixed with numbers and equations, but they flowed like music. I do not understand this, he admitted. That is okay, Dr. Carter said with a smile. Understanding is not the same as feeling. Sometimes you have to feel the answer before you can understand it. Over the next several hours, the humans and aliens worked together in a way that had never happened before. Tony showed the Zephyrians how to think about technology as if it were alive. Dr. Carter taught them how to find beauty in mathematics. Captain Brooks explained how chaos and confusion could be used as weapons in their own right. Jake recorded everything, knowing that this moment would change the history of both species forever. As the day ended, Elder Zixtal made one final announcement. From this day forward, the Zephyrian Empire will be known as the Galactic Cooperative. We will no longer rule over other species. We will work with them. And we will start by learning from the humans how to think with both our minds and our hearts. The alien leader looked directly at Jake Sullivan. Commander, would you be willing to serve as the first human ambassador to our people? We have much to learn from each other. Jake looked at his crew and saw pride and hope in their eyes. We would be honored, he replied. Dr. Carter opened her notebook to a fresh page and began writing. This time she was not solving an ancient problem. She was starting to write the story of a new future where different kinds of intelligence worked together to make the galaxy a better place for everyone. The meeting that had begun with condescension and the threat of servitude ended with mutual respect and the promise of partnership. Humanity had not only earned their place among the stars, they had helped their new alien friends discover that there was more than one way to be truly intelligent.